You're watching Breakthrough News.
I'm Charlotte Hohenstein, and you're watching Breakthrough News on BTR today. Would you give your dog acupuncture? Today we're talking about alternative therapies for pets. Joining us to discuss this, we have doctors Shelley Scopit and Damien Battersby of the Park Animal Hospital. Thank you very much, Damien and Shelley, for joining me today. So the two of you run together the Park Animal Hospital in Connecticut, which has two facilities. And since you've taken them over in 2013, you've actually been creating some waves because you've started offering acupuncture alongside other alternative therapies, or I think you termed them healing arts services. What's the thinking behind this, Damien?
Well, there's a lot of dogs out there with a lot of, or dogs and cats, I should say, with various medical conditions, and that traditional therapy is not an option for, or traditional therapy alone isn't giving them relief from their problems or making them feel better. And in those cases, we look for other, more non-traditional or traditional ways, whatever you may look at it, on treating these guys. And one of the things, acupuncture has been used for hundreds and hundreds of years to treat a variety of ailments. And it's one of those things that, is starting to catch on in the veterinary world. And we have people asking it about, if it will help their dogs and their cats. So we thought it was something that can definitely, in addition to traditional medications, or for those pets that can't undergo traditional therapies. And this is another option that we have to treat these guys.
So it sounds like, and I'll put this question to Shelley, it sounds like you are both very concerned with combining conventional practices and these more alternative therapies together, and that's important.
Most definitely. I mean, I think, when it comes to medicine, there's a lot of conditions and diseases that dogs and cats can get that, if you try to treat it with one thing, you're probably not going to be very successful. So if you think about, trying to attack a problem with more than one solution, and all of those solutions being complementary to each other, then you're going to have a much better chance at success.
Shelley, just to build on that, how would you describe the difference broadly between these alternative healing therapies and the more conventional approach? Like, what do these therapies bring that conventional medicine thus far has just been missing out on?
Sure. If you think of conventional therapies, traditionally we have medications like antibiotics or steroid anti-inflammatories. And these medications are very important for a number of conditions, but they certainly come with side effects as well. Long-term use of steroid anti-inflammatories can cause issues that the owners may not be thrilled with, like eating more, drinking more, and sometimes even down the road having the side effect of maybe causing another disease like diabetes. So by bringing in some of these alternative therapies, we might be able to lessen the dose of the traditional therapies, or lessen the length of time that we keep them on those therapies, and limiting some of those side effects while still providing comfort to the animal.
So these therapies like acupuncture, they don't have side effects?
Not really. I mean, the biggest side effect of the acupuncture would be, is the animal going to tolerate the needles? And the needles themselves are much smaller than what we would use to give a vaccine or any other kind of shot to an animal. So they're very small, but you do have to pick and choose your animals. When it comes to cats, they can certainly be a finicky animal, and they don't always love being, poked with a needle, no matter how small it is. So that's probably the biggest challenge. And a lot of animals, after their first session of acupuncture, will maybe get tired when they get home and just have a good sleep for that first night. But other than that, really no negative side effects.
Wow, I mean, that's incredible. Damien, the scientific community, strictly speaking, still remains quite ambivalent. There are studies in support, there are studies that don't necessarily confirm this. Were you skeptical at first when you started learning about these therapies, and what made the difference for you?
Well, I mean, you're skeptical about anything when you learn about it for the first time. And that's no different with medicine or, other parts of veterinary field. Now, certainly you hear about these things, and you hear, I had a friend or my brother's cousin or something like that, and you're not really sure until you see it firsthand. And, certainly we've seen some of these guys do Dogs and cats do much better with acupuncture, and certainly if we have the therapeutic laser into it, we've seen firsthand a couple animals that we were ready to do surgery with, and we've been able to treat their condition without surgery by using it. And after seeing that, I was a believer.
Wow. So, and it sounds like your local community in Connecticut has been responding very positively. I mean, there seem to be a lot of success stories, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a lot of positive feedback from the clients that, maybe had heard good things about it, but they wanted to see firsthand for themselves, or have tried, other therapies and, saw some improvement, but just not the total improvement that they were looking for. And when we added in acupuncture and therapeutic laser treatments, they walked away at 1 or 2 treatments later saying, oh my gosh, now I'm starting to see that improvement I was looking for. This is great. I want more. I want to come back. And we're thrilled to hear that, because these animals are a part of people's families, so we want to do what we can to provide that comfort.
Right before we take a break, I want to ask one more question. So do you see these, and I'll put this to Damien, do you see these therapies as definitely being a growing trend?
I do. I mean, I've noticed for the last few years, many clients asking about other ways to treat some of these, some old conditions like arthritis in these older senior citizen dogs and cats where they, for one reason or another, traditional medicine wasn't working, or it just wasn't working anymore, or in certain cases where, some of these animals that may have needed surgery and are just not candidates for surgery, or surgery is not an option for them, but we've been able to control their comfort level and increase their happiness by doing acupuncture and working on laser treatments with them too.
Well, that is awesome. We're going to take a quick break for an excerpt from the latest episode of Live Studio featuring composer Ivar Paul Johnson. We'll be right back.
A power game. I'm just a human looking for love, like everybody else in this world. I guess I really gave in to them. My temptations got the better of me.
We're back with our discussion on the growing trend of alternative therapy for your pets. So Damien, I know that Park Animal Hospital places an emphasis on preventative care, and most health problems for animals are diagnosed quite late in the game. Do you find that preventative treatment is particularly difficult for pets compared to humans? Is it more difficult to see a subtle imbalance in an animal than you might feel in yourself, for example?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's more difficult. They don't complain. Most of our pets are so happy to just live life with us. Their tails are wagging, they have smiles on their face, and they don't complain about normal aches and pains, or they don't complain as they get older and something's not right. They're going to continue to eat and drink and be happy, and they also age a lot quicker than us. So things happen with them a lot quicker than with you and me. And for years with people, we've been programmed to, at our yearly doctor's appointment at a certain age, we get an EKG every year, and at a certain age, they do blood work, and then we're not even talking to colonoscopies and stuff as you get older, but just to catch stuff early before we're showing symptoms or we have problems. And most diseases and most problems in general in life, if you catch them early, can be managed with a whole lot more effectively. And medicine's no different. And a lot of, especially with these dogs and cats as they're getting older, just things like running simple blood work and seeing trends and how their organs are functioning over time, we can find declines in function earlier when there's something we can do about it, with whether diet change or supplements, and keep them happier and healthier for longer. And certainly avoid, by catching things early, we can even avoid, in some cases, prolonged hospitalizations and aggressive treatments. So, I think it's, preventative medicine in the dog and cat field, especially around here where pets are, part of their family. And we want to do everything we can to keep them healthy and happy.
So it sounds like pet owners need to be extra vigilant, because, as you mentioned, pets don't complain in the way that humans can communicate, and B, you just have less time because they age more. Shelley, how similar are approaches to preventative treatments when it comes to pets and humans? Because it sounds like a lot of these therapies you could apply in I mean, tailored, of course, but essentially the same. It's being careful with nutrition, acupuncture, all these things. Do you think it's fundamentally the same approach?
I do. I do think it's the same approach. The biggest difference is that we're relying on the pets, humans, their owners, to look for subtle changes that they're seeing at home and communicate that to us. They might see something like, oh, he's just sleeping a little bit more than usual, or something very subtle that they may bring up but actually think maybe it's silly that they're bringing it up. But those little things that they see at home are so important to us, because when we see them from a distance and we know that these people are looking at their animals every day and they're picking up those small changes, it clues us into something going on. And then it allows us to do what our doctors would do for us and talk about nutrition, talk about, maybe body weight and what we need to change there. Maybe running simple lab tests to try to get a handle on what's going on. And seeing, do we maybe just need to add in some omega-3 fatty acids, or do we actually need some medication like an antibiotic, or maybe a Chinese herbal medication or acupuncture therapy? So the approach is the same.
So I was going to ask, is that something also that you use? Do you use Chinese herbs, for example?
I do somewhat. I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I do try on a case-by-case basis with my acupuncture patients and some of the laser patients, to try to incorporate that whenever I can. There are Chinese herbs that actually have properties that act like anti-inflammatories. They act like pain medication without the same side effects that we might see with, aspirin for ourselves. So when I can incorporate it, I certainly will, and especially, people in this area, they ask about it, and if it's something that they're interested in, even though I don't have the experience, I have the motivation to research it more and look into it and add that into the mix, because if we can help with adding treatments in together like acupuncture plus herbal therapy, then that's great. Whatever we can do to help.
So what's on your radar right now for both of you? Are there any alternative therapies that you're keeping tabs on, that you're looking to incorporate? Is there anything out there that you're excited by?
Question. I think the biggest thing for us has been the laser. The acupuncture is something that I've been doing for a few years. I've worked in other hospitals that have done acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, but we really never saw the full laser in action, and that was something very new that we brought to the practice, and we've just been excited watching the changes that we've been seeing from that. So that's probably our biggest excitement around here.
So just to finish up, Damien, when should you think about acupuncture for your dog or cat? But it sounds like cats don't like needles as much, but your pet.
I like the laser a little bit better.
It's something you need to, every cat is an individual, every dog is an individual with individual problems and individual severities of those problems. So it depends, on what you're looking to do and what those problems are. But, certainly it is a conversation that, if you're thinking about it or you've heard about it, a conversation you should have with your veterinarian at the next visit or whenever treatment for certain illnesses comes up. It may be something that can make a big difference. It may be something that has shown not to be successful for that. It's something that never hurts to ask your veterinarian about, and more vets are using these less traditional methods in treating diseases in dogs and cats. So there's definitely a spot for it.
Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you very much, Damien and Shelley, for joining me today. We'll be right back in a moment after this quick excerpt from our most recent edition to Serious Business on BTR TV featuring Multicult. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm Charlotte Hohenstein, and this is Breakthrough News, your window into today. Be sure to check out breakthroughradio.com through the weekend for our continued Hero Week coverage to read about what Rosie the Riveter means to feminism in 2014. That's it for what's breaking through the news today. Tell us what's breaking through your world at Breakthrough Radio. I'm Charlotte Hohenstein, and thank you for joining us.